We can see the little bean there. What you looking? What you doing? What you doing there, bud? You looking for your toy? Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Hey, everybody. It's been a bit of a year. At the time of recording, it is November 28th, 2023. When this comes out, I'm hoping that it is before the 1st of January, 2024, because this is going to be my end of the year project. I've been getting into MESBG, the Middle-earth strategy battle game, with my partner Kat. That's been a lot of working and, hobbying that we've been engaging in over the past 365 days, which has been really, really enjoyable. For the end of the year, one of the things that I want to do just to give myself that feeling of accomplishment, that mythical, I did it, and I don't have to do anything else to it because I'm satisfied, is finishing painting an army. Building and painting an army. And where I am at is, I wouldn't say a bit of a long shot for me to get done in a month. For those of you who know, I'm building an Easterling army, and I, of course, left all of the finished models over there. I think that this little pile of shame, quote unquote, I really should not have spoken that into the ether, is completely doable before the end of the year. So today begins the first day of me working on this pile of shame. So, welcome to the end of year dash to finish up my Easterling army. If I can get everything built, and then I can have it cure, prime it, then I can paint everything all at once. I'm gonna focus entirely on my building and my kit bashing so that I have all of those pieces done and ready to go for painting in the near future. So I have these guys, they need like the tabard piece in the front. This guy, who I took from the Cataphractii kit, also needs a tabard piece in the front to complete him. I know that the Easterlings don't use like war drums off of horses. I don't believe that that's a rule that they can do, but I did this anyways, because I had the extra bases, and I had the extra bits, and I guess I could have kit bashed them into soldiers, but I didn't. I kit bashed them into drummers so I could have like some extra, fun little, drummer bits. But I've got these individuals. That's a Cataphractii who needs a shield. These two dudes, which are supposed to be like downed Easterlings, but I wanted to turn them into more soldiers, so I've got a little bit more building to do. Experimentation with green stuff and milliput to make grilliput was kind of the name of the game. I had to make cloaks for some of my captains that I needed to identify for the lengths of cloth and the tabard, as I had mentioned before. I also had to fill in some of the bases, the extra bases that I had gotten from some other third-party company, with tacky glue, as you can see, because they're depressed in the center, not like emotionally, but with just the material. I'm funny, I swear. Anyway, so I had to fill them with some of this tacky glue to kind of fill in and make sure that I had a solid enough base, that their feet weren't going to be completely immersed in the sand that I use in the final basing process. Other than that, it was just a process of sculpting using some brand new metal and plastic, or I guess rubber sculpting tools that I had gotten my hands on to make sure that all the forms kind of matched up, made sense. This was a very intensive process. I'm not a huge sculptor. I want to become a better sculptor, and so this was a great opportunity for me to play around with that. I did make too much grilliput though. I will admit that. And try as I might here on day one, I didn't get all of the building done that I wanted to, so it moved on to day two. As I'm waking up. Hi, so we're here for day two of the end of year Easterling project. Today, the plan is, as I bring us over here, we have all of our friends. Fantastic. All of these guys have finally got their green stuff. Excellent. We've got these guys here who need to be put on their bases. We got a drummer who needs to get his drums put on, and then we have the other three soldiers who need to get their shields put on and then put onto their bases. And once that is all done and they have a chance to dry, the glue that is, then the intention and the plan So I take all of these guys, including this little cache up here, and these folks outside in the semi-cold, semi-damp weather, and pray that a primer works, and I prime them. And so hopefully at some point today I can paint these guys. So that's the plan for today. Let's see where we go. So day 2 was wrapping up the building and primarily putting things on bases, putting the drums on folks, making sure that they had all of the bits that they needed to get primed. You were seeing me here put some cork down on some bases for the Easterlings that didn't really have the best connection or had one foot up. They were the downed Easterlings, so I used cork to kind of give them a better base. And then I am building the priming station thing that I am going to use to prime them. Little of me doing way too much, but I wanted to make sure that I got all of my models on a singular base to prime them with, and this actually worked out pretty well. It's an old GW, sprue box or something with just not two-sided tape. I don't have two-sided tape, so I had to make do. But all of the models fit pretty nicely on it, if I do say so myself. Next is the outside for the prime. I started with a black primer and then hit it from the top with a white primer. Both primers were used from the Vallejo range. I really like the Vallejo range, and this is my first time trying a Zenithal prime. I'm pretty not that confident in my Zenithal prime here for the first time, for the first go around, but that is definitely not going to deter me from in the future trying this again, maybe with a bigger model and seeing if I like that process a little bit better using it with a bigger model. But for my first time, I don't absolutely hate it. Day 3, I prioritized the Dragon Emperor of Rhun. I had a limited amount of time in the day to get some hobbying done, but thankfully I'd already painted the Palanquin months ago, so I just had to focus on the Dragon Emperor himself and the retinue of Black Dragon cultists that he has following him. The primary colors that I used from here were going to be the Vallejo Royal Purple and their base black, along with a couple things from a Pro Acryls line. It was a very good process and frankly very quickly done, even with the crunch time that I was in for this evening. Okay, update. Pretty much the only thing I have left to do on these guys down here is going to be a Seraphim Sepia wash, and I'm going to do that on the throne, the Palanquin as well. So my thought process with these folks, these black dragons in particular, is that they are the retinue of the Emperor. I have painted them all in a base purple to show their royal standing and position within the king's retinue, the Emperor's retinue, pardon me. But I want to go over that and make sure that the only things that are like super duper purple are going to be the lengths of cloth hanging from between their legs. I'm not entirely sure what that's called. I need to do research on that. And then also the coifs that they have, the lengths of cloth hanging down from their helmets. Everything else will be black. And those two pops of purple being the identifying marker on them to say that they are of the royal retinue and so forth. Otherwise, I'm very proud of the Dragon Emperor. I really like the way that he's turned out here. Again, there's, people are going to look at this and say, oh, they're barely done. There's definitely more that I could do, but it's kind of out of my wheelhouse in terms of my skill level. So I'm going to push it as best I can with what skills I have. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to be happy with the fact that I have it, and I have painted it to a standard that I enjoy it, and I can use it on the tabletop in my own games. I've got the Dragon Emperor painted up. All I gotta do is finish assembling him and put him on the base, and then I'm good to go. So, I have looked at some of the footage, pulled the footage off of the card finally, and there are some of the vloggy bits where I'm kind of walking through what my process is going to be, where the footage is incredibly blurry. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but that is what happened. So I don't know if I'm going to use that footage. I don't know if we're going to see that footage. But just to kind of keep in the same routine and the same rotation, today is day 4. I am going to move on to the Cataphractii. I think the Cataphractii is the biggest thing that is keeping me from finishing this project. Because I can knock out foot soldiers like nobody's business. But the Cataphractii are really driving me up a wall. I don't know what it is, if it is the horses as an extra big thing or what, but I'm today going to focus on the Cataphractii. So I painted the horses today primarily just to make sure that I got them out of the way, because everything else can kind of be batch painted together, but I painted each of the horses individual from one another to give that extra flavor to the army. Okay, back to it. I'm not in crunch mode, but I kind of need to get a lot of work done today to make sure that I'm not in crunch mode. First thing first is going to be base coats, second thing is going to be banners, and then we'll see where the day takes us. Alright, let's see what happens. Finally, we got to the actual painting process, and so I started with all of my minis, all of them, whether they were Cataphractii or footmen. From Army Painter, I used their Chaos Red for their under tunics, I used Plate Mail for their weapons, I used their Dwarven Bronze for the armor pieces, and the Bright Gold for the accents that I wanted to give on each of the models. From Vallejo, I used a mixture of their Dark Purple and Base Black for their over tunics, and from Pro Acryl, I used their Light Umber for their shields and spear hafts, and Dark Umber for their boots. Okay, so at this point, I have got the base coats on the Easterlings, all of their clothing. So their under tunics, their over tunics have all been colored with the Chaos Red and then the Dark Purple. The next step is going to be the bronze detailing of the armor pieces. The armor is going to be a big one just because that's going to go through the soldiers as well as the Cataphractii, because I have to do this armor on the Cataphractii as well as the horses. So armor is going to be the next one. The homemade wet palette that I made has been like working really fucking well. Honestly didn't expect that. So really excited about that. I will update you when I have another update. Thanks. Day 5 was an assembly line paint job, if there ever was one. The homemade wet palette that I made was working fantastically. I have never used a wet palette before, and it was really a great experience for me. But going down the line at the beginning of the day, working on all of the clothing, and then here in the next part of the day, working on all of the armor, was a huge assembly line project. Very little else to do than put your head down and just grind it out. I was feeling very confident there towards the middle of the day, having gotten both the clothes and the armor pieces painted on all of the minis. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been putting something off. The fucking banners. And then it is on to basing, and if I'm not sick of it, get some more diversity in the color palette. But that is what we got. So excited. I don't know what my problem is with banners. They're just so different from everything else that's been batch painted. There's such a level of detail that I wasn't prepared for that, much like the horses in the Cataphractii, was a hindrance and a mental barrier for me to get over when I was in the process of completing this project. But I sucked it up and got it done. Okay, so we made some decent fucking progress so far. The day is still kind of young-ish. We're gonna go with young-ish. I have completed my banners, all of them, both mounted and on foot. I have completed the drummers, and then my 2 mounted captains that I have here are completed. So I'm gonna call that a win. That is not the end of my day, but I am going to call that a win, and if I can be delicate enough to pick this up, I can show you all. Ha 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 ha! Yes! So, we have everything that is left in this box to take care of today. But, that is where I am at. And I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling confident. I just really gotta push through the rest of today so that I can spend the next couple days editing. So, that's where we're at. Being invigorated by that win of getting those models done, I pushed myself today to make sure that every single model that was left in my box of shame got painted all the way up, everything that they needed, to the point of even starting on the basing process for some of them. This was a huge win for myself, and something that I could definitely celebrate that really carried me to the end of this project, which would be tonight, in fact. So I'm gonna make it today. Today's gonna be the final day of painting. I am very confident in that. I have got pretty much just the swords and shields on the cataphracti, my footmen, and my pikemen to finish up, and then I have to base them, and we're done. That's it. That's all I gotta do. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, I pushed myself into the wee hours of the morning, not stopping for anything until finally I could exhaustedly but proudly say, it's done. Kind of at a loss for words, to be frankly honest. It is very late into the evening. In fact, it is the next day from when I started. However, I set out to do the thing, and I did the thing. I'm very proud of myself for setting the goal and accomplishing the goal. Now I know I can do it, and I'm satisfied. I'm happy for what I wanted, for what I am currently capable of. I am overjoyed that the Easterling army is done. Where I'm at right now, this is a great spot for me. This is exactly where I want to be. All of the army, all of the different ways that I could build the army, all of the little lists that I have, I can build based off what I have now. I'm going to stop rambling and show you guys some grand reveals of Arden 13's Horde of the Dragon Emperor. Thank you everyone so much who joined me on this journey and finished watching this video all the way to the end to see the fruits of my diligent labor. Having completed this project, I am feeling very, very confident. I am feeling very, very pleased and satisfied with myself in my matriculation through the early stages of this hobby into where I am now. I am confident that this is something that I thoroughly enjoy and will continue to enjoy and play and participate in for many years to come. This marks the end of the build and paint job of the Easterling army as it stands now in my collection. I do admit that there are some things that I would like to add to it, but for where I am right now, this is exactly where I want to be. From here, sky's the limit. I have multiple other armies from multiple other games that I can start working on or finish, but for right now, I just want to celebrate the fact that this project is done, and I am so pleased with the outcome. Thank you everyone so much again for joining me on this project, for joining me on this video, staying to the end. It really does mean quite a lot to me. If you have any interest in seeing what we do here in the future, you're more than welcome to join us by hitting all the buttons below that everyone else bugs you about. I am going to go ahead and sign off and say thank you once again. This has been Arden 13. I am still waiting on that ramen. I will catch you all in the new year. Happy hobbying. Stay safe.